Tonight is a special night at the White House. It's Donald and Melania's 20th wedding anniversary. 20 years is a long time, especially for Melania. According to reports from multiple news outlets, his former sister-in-law alleges that Hegseth's wife was terrified he would abuse her to the point where she and her sister had a code to text each other if her husband became violent, and she feared for her safety.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. We would do Jimmy Kimmel. I'd do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
He used to greet me on the sidewalk outside of his studio.
What just happened? Jimmy Kimmel just fired off a joke about Trump and Melania's marriage, and let's just say it struck a nerve. Trump is seeing red, pacing like a bull before the charge. Will he brush it off? Unleash a full-blown Twitter-style tirade, or will Melania's signature icy glare shut it all down before it even begins? One thing's for sure, this is about to be a spectacle. But before we dive into the drama, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything to us.
I'm guessing he noticed a bunch of people posting about his anniversary, which remind him, oh, it's my anniversary. So he then reposted this sweet photo of Melania literally pushing him away from her.
Kimmel isn't just cracking jokes, he's lighting fuses. The guy knows that mocking Trump doesn't just get laughs, it sends the media into a frenzy. So when he strolled onto that stage, smirking like he'd just hit the jackpot, the audience braced for impact. And trust me, he did not disappoint.
Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Blah, 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 make America great again. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still, isn't it past your jail time?
He started off light, keeping it playful. A sly remark here, a cheeky tease there. Just enough to keep the crowd engaged without immediately setting off alarms. But everyone in the room could feel it coming. That was just the warm-up. Then, with the precision of a sniper and the impact of a wrecking ball, Kimmel delivered the punchline.
Well, our president kept the crowd very warm at CPAC over the weekend. CPAC, if you're not familiar, is basically what would happen if Judge Jeanine Pirro headlined the Fire Festival. It's a lot of very angry white people. It is the largest gathering of people who believe vaccines are witchcraft in the world. And for 2 hours and 2 minutes, Donald Trump gave what I believe we may look back on as his I Have a Dream speech. This was his longest speech since taking office. He went on and on. You could have left this speech, watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, come back, and he would still have been going. And to kick things off, Trump went to one of his signature moves to start it. And I know there's a lot of competition, but this, I think, this might be the dumbest thing he does. Who does that? Donald Trump shows more affection to flags than Eric and Don Jr. have ever gotten in their whole lives.
And just like clockwork, there were those few in the audience who froze, stone-faced, arms crossed, looking like they'd just realized they were in enemy territory, as if even a chuckle might get them exiled from some secret club. But the rest? Total mayhem, roaring laughter, people doubling over, gasping for breath, some even slamming the tables. Kimmel had just dropped a nuke, and the fallout was nothing short of spectacular.
If I was going to make stuff up about him, I'd start telling people he wears diapers. I would explain that it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake. He's getting up there in years, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's age and carriage to wear absorbent undergarments to stop the leaks. So, I mean, if I was making stuff up, that I would point out that the reason he stands like this and golfs like this and plays tennis like this is because he has a full diaper strapped around his little mushroom garden, okay?
And this is where Kimmel really turns up the heat. He doesn't just drop a punchline and move on. He digs in, stretches it, and squeezes out every last drop of comedy. He paces the stage, feeding off the energy, letting the laughter build until some people are practically gasping for air. He's relentless, stacking punchline on top of punchline, turning a single joke into a full-blown avalanche. And that's when the cameras go on the hunt. Because whenever a comedian takes a shot at Trump, the real gold isn't just in the joke, it's in the reactions.
According to reports from multiple news outlets, his former sister-in-law alleges that Hegseth's wife was terrified he would abuse her to the point where she and her sister had a code to text each other if her husband became violent, and she feared for her safety.
The cameras sweep across the crowd, hunting for those split-second reactions that are about to explode online. Who's doubling over, wiping away tears? Who's biting their lip, trying to hold in a chuckle, praying no one caught them cracking? A smile? And who's already glancing at their phone, bracing for the incoming all-caps rant from their conservative uncle? The tension is thick. The stakes? Sky high. The moment? Pure electricity. Meanwhile, miles away, in a dimly lit room, a sweating Diet Coke sits untouched. Maybe Trump himself is glued to the screen, flipping channels just in time to catch Kimmel's dagger of a punchline slicing straight through his ego. Maybe an aide is already firing off a panicked text, warning that Truth Social is about to go nuclear. But one thing is undeniable. Kimmel just locked in Trump's next 24-hour meltdown, and the countdown to his all-caps tirade has officially begun.
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Could I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, "I'd like to apologize for doing that." He lost his whole audience when he did that.
Would it turn into a full-blown digital meltdown? A furious all-caps rant about washed-up late-night hosts? Or maybe even a wild claim that Jimmy Kimmel is somehow linked to the deep state? No one could say for sure what Trump's reaction would be, but one thing was certain. That joke had hit a nerve, and the fallout was only just beginning. Trump's feud with late-night TV is nothing new. It's a cycle as predictable as it is explosive. Every joke aimed at him is like tossing a match into a pool of gasoline, instant fireworks. And the comedians? Oh, they eat this up. They know that mocking Trump is a surefire way to go viral, racking up millions of views, grabbing headlines, and stirring up an army of furious commenters ready to wage war in the replies. It's a formula that never fails. But let's be real, this isn't some sudden rivalry. Late-night hosts have been roasting Trump long before politics ever entered the equation. Back in the 80s and 90s, he wasn't the leader of the free world. He was the brash, larger-than-life, real estate tycoon who craved attention. A walking spectacle with a golden penthouse and an ego to match. The jokes weren't about policy or elections back then. They were about his obsession with fame, his larger-than-life antics, and, of course, that infamous impossible-to-ignore hair. Little did anyone know, Trump was just getting started.
Usually when Donald Trump gets a spanking like this from a woman, it's with a Forbes magazine. Kamala was pushing his buttons like a 12-year-old playing Fortnite. This was a much better debate than the last debate. This is like the Lion King when Simba came back to avenge Mufasa. Trump's advisors, before the debate, they urged him to be happy Trump instead of mean bully Trump, and to please focus on the issues. Of course, he didn't listen to any of that at all. But who are we kidding? This election isn't about the issues. I mean, Dick Cheney isn't voting for Kamala Harris because he agrees with her on the issues. He's voting for her because there's a rhinoceros charging and she has the tranquilizer gun.
Then came the Apprentice era, and Trump fully leaned into his persona as the ruthless, no-nonsense boss who fired people for sport. Late-night comedians had a field day. Conan, Letterman, and Leno tore into his catchphrase, his ego, and his relentless obsession with stamping his name on everything. But back then, Trump wasn't just in on the joke. He loved it. He knew that as long as people were talking about him, he was winning. Then came 2016, the moment Trump traded reality TV for real-world power. And just like that, late-night TV became a war zone. Colbert went from goofy satire to razor-sharp takedowns. Seth Meyers transformed his monologues into full-blown Trump roasts. Kimmel, who once kept things light, dived straight into the political chaos. And then there was Fallon, the one guy who made a critical misstep. His crime? Playfully tousling Trump's hair like he was ruffling a golden retriever. The backlash was brutal. Fallon later admitted he regretted the moment, but Trump? He never let it go. He labeled Fallon weak and pathetic, another enemy in his never-ending media feud. As president, he despised late-night TV, dismissing hosts as talentless, overrated, and puppets of the so-called fake news media. When Colbert ripped into Trump with one of his most brutal monologues, Trump brushed him off as a nobody. When Kimmel mocked his policies, Trump didn't just fire back, he went straight for the ratings, belittling Kimmel's numbers as if they were election poll results. And even after leaving office, that grudge hasn't faded one bit. But here's the thing, late-night TV isn't backing down either. As long as there's a mic, a stage, and an audience hungry for laughs, Trump will always be comedy's favorite target. And then there's his marriage, less of a love story, More of a walking PR contract. Kimmel knew exactly what he was doing when he went there. The moment the joke landed, the audience erupted. Laughter, gasps, and that classic, "oh no, he actually said it" reaction. Because let's be real, this isn't breaking news. People have been side-eyeing Trump and Melania's relationship for years, dissecting every step, every handshake, every forced smile, and every legendary icy stare. And late-night hosts? Yeah, they're never letting that go.
Hey, speaking of prisoners, this should be an interesting Valentine's Day at the White House. For instance, will Donald Trump get flowers from Vladimir Putin? We don't know. And what about his wife, Melania? Will they spend the night together, or will she remain trapped like Rapunzel at their apartment in New York? You know, Melania Trump has a new line of greeting cards. They carry these now at CVS. They're interesting, actually. I've not seen any. Happy Valentine's Day. Open out saving.
Remember that legendary hand swat in 2017? Trump reaches for Melania's hand and whack, she rejects it like a bad tip. A single second of pure awkwardness that turned into an internet sensation. And who could forget the inauguration stare? That forced smile that vanished the second Trump turned away, fueling every free Melania theory imaginable. From robotic photo ops to tense body language, their marriage has been a gold mine for comedy. And Kimmel? Oh, he cashed in big time. The internet went wild. Memes, TikToks, and conspiracy theories exploded in real time. But Trump? Yeah, he took the bait. A full-blown caps lock meltdown on Truth Social, ranting about washed-up comedians and fake news. And the irony? In trying to shut it down, he made sure the joke would never die.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. We would do Jimmy Kimmel. I'd do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
He used to greet me on the sidewalk outside of his studio. I'd come in. This was before politics, of course. But I'd come in, and he'd be standing on the sidewalk. "Oh, sir, may I bring you in?" He'd bring me in every time. And then I ran for politics. I never, got involved with him much. But all they do is talk bad about Trump. That's all. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He is a ridiculous person.
And just like that, the internet went nuclear. Memes, TikToks, and tweet storms erupted. The Melania blink twice jokes flooded timelines, dramatic reenactments took over, and while Trump's fans fumed, his critics cackled. Late-night hosts? Oh, they pounced. What started as a one-liner had now turned into a multi-day roast fest. Kimmel's joke had snowballed into an all-out comedy saga, with Trump, once again, the unwilling punchline.
So I said to our great First Lady, who can draw a crowd? Did you watch me tonight on television, First Lady? People love our First Lady out there. Go out and get a book. She just wrote a book. I hope she said good things about it. I don't know. I didn't. So busy. She just wrote a book called Melania. Go out and buy it. It's great. And if she says bad things about me, I'll call you all up and I'll say, don't buy it. Get rid of it.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my boss?
As the internet erupted, Melania remained silent. No tweets, no eye rolls, just her signature unreadable expression. Was she secretly amused by the chaos? Or was this just another thing she had grown tired of? Meanwhile, Kimmel had two choices. Let the joke fade or keep the roast going until Trump was fuming. Spoiler alert, comedians never choose restraint. And as for Trump, there's a good chance he'll turn this into a full-blown campaign tirade, complete with exaggerated hand gestures and his usual fiery rhetoric. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Because this saga is far from over. Will Trump clap back, or will he brush it off? One thing is certain, late-night television just landed another undeniable win.